Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, good. So you see the difference here. After the update, the system has uh, two kernels in there now. Okay, so you see the new kernel in here, and if you want, you can um use old kernel if there is issue after the update. Okay, I'm going to show you that now. Okay, so what is happening now? Let's talk about kernel a little bit, okay? So, um, before this, I already ran the security updates, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the kernel update. So, I mean, I think you could also do the individual kernel update also. So, let me go ahead and go into the system. I'm going to go enter. It will boot the system back into its mode. Okay. Okay, so what you could do is you could type yum list installed kernel or asterisk. Okay. So this is the kernel we have here, and this is the old kernel, and the one which is underlined is the kernel which is installed. Okay, and then uh, yeah, the underlined one is the active kernel right now, and these are the other information about the kernel. This is the same thing here, but this is like a backup here. So what should I do next is let's talk about the kernel first, okay? Okay, so in plain English, the kernel means uh, kernel means the seed here. So if you're looking at this here, this is the wheat kernel, and this is inside of it. Okay, it has some code in it. So this is what the software is. So in the software terms, let's look at this here. Yeah, perfect. Or this one here. Okay, so this is the perfect picture I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it here. So what is the kernel here? Right on the hardware, when you install something, before even the operating system gets installed, there is a kernel. Between the hardware and the software, there is a kernel here, this one. It is the smallest and the tiniest application between the hardware and the software, the real operating system. And this is where all your other operating system files are installed. You see shell here, that means operating system. This is where you are using it. And on top of that, you have other applications here, right? So I hope you get that information. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down what the kernel means here. Okay, so before that, let me get a good definition of kernel. All right, this is a good picture also, so I'm going to copy those two pictures. Okay, good. So that's a good picture I found. And the definition is, okay, yeah, this is a good definition here. Okay, so let's break this down here. What this means. I'm going to copy this and okay, so this one here, it says kernel x86. So that means it's just giving you the version here, okay? But we are more worried about this part. Okay, so what we have is first is 3. Okay, we got 3 in here. 3, then I got 10 in there, then I got 0, then I got 11, 27, and then I got EL, EL7. Okay, all right, and let's talk about this here. The very first number is a major version. Okay, and then this is the major release. And this part is a patch. If this is a patch or what kind of kernel this is. And then 127, it says, is the Red Hat version. Okay, it's coming from the Red Hat. And EL17 is a enterprise Linux version. And then you see x86 and 64. If it's a 64-bit architecture, and it will say like this. If you look at this here, if you go Windows or not, if you see something under x86 under 64, that means it's a 64-bit operating system. Okay. All right. So let me. Enterprise version. Okay, so now this is the same thing. This is how it's going to roll for anything else either. So let's see if you're looking at a package here, right? I'm going to type which yum provides tree, and I'll hit enter here, right? So you could apply the same formula here. So over here, 1 is a major version, it's a version 1, and 6, you could see here it's a major release. Okay, it's been released 6 times. And then you see a 0, that means this is not a patch. And you see 10, that means this is a version of Red Hat. EL7 is the EL7 means this is the version for Linux 7. Right now Linux 7 we are working on. If it's Red Hat 8, it will be EL8. And this part is the operating system here. Okay, did I explain that good enough, or you need more explanation? You could use this formula for any OS, not OS, any package. So let's see what else we have dealt with. Yum provides Firefox. Okay, so you could see here, this is Firefox 68. That means it's a major version. It's been released 68 times. And then major release has been released within 68. It's been released 12 times. Okay. And then this is not a silly package. And then it's a Red Hat version is 1. EL version is any Linux. This version, Enterprise Linux, is independent of Red Hat Linux, okay? So don't get confused. And then in here it says CentOS underscore. This means this is for 64-bit. Look here, it says i686. That means this is 32-bit probably. Yeah. If you see something like i686, that's a 32-bit package. It won't be working on the operating system, which is 64-bit. You know what? I'm not sure. It may or may not work. But recently, in last 10 years, everything has been 64-bit. Nobody's using 32-bit anymore because the technology has advanced way more. Okay, so.
Yeah,
Mr. Zafar, what was the connection that you used to get there?
Get where?
To these updates.
So if you know a package, if you want to look up package information, right? If it's available or not, you looking for this?
Yes, Yum provides Firefox. Is that how you got to these right here
Yeah.
above?
And if you
Okay.
have something else in
Okay,
the
perfect.
mind here, like Yum provides and then HTTPD, so it will give you all the versions here. So here, I mean, here everything is going to be this. This is standardized not by Red Hat. It's been standardized by the industry. So number two is going to be this and this and this. So let's go on the website and then Red Hat kernel versions. Okay, so if you look at Red Hat 8, okay, so okay, so let me go on to my another machine here, which is running Red Hat 8. This one here, host right open. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Okay. All right. So the IP has changed. Okay, so let's compare this what we have here. Okay, so this is Red Hat 8. Okay, and looking at it here. So for Red Hat 8, this is 4, and then major release is 18. Okay, so there are no patches yet. and 193 is the Red Hat version. Okay, and or maybe not. So Red Hat version here is 193.19.1. Okay, we'll compare this, how this is going here. And EL8 is the enterprise Linux. So if it's EL9, anywhere else, any other Linux distribution it's running right now is version 8. Okay, version 8_2. And then if you say this 64-bit operating system, x86_64. Okay, so in here version also, if you compare the Red Hat version, this is 193, and this will fall off actually when you have a stable version. By the way, you guys know that the operating system is not robust, right? Operating system or any packages, any software is not final. It's never going to be final because operating system, anything else is still work in progress. Okay, everybody agree with me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Never ever think operating system is final here. So what they do is, once they go to a certain stage and they will realize, okay, we've been through enough, and then we're gonna name it a different operating system. So what they do is they will stop. This is same thing. 8 and 7 are based off same thing. It's still work in progress here. But what they do is they will change the major version and then call it a different operating system. Because if you want to get Red Hat 7, this is the latest you would ever get, Red Hat 7, then you have to go to Red Hat 8 or Enterprise Linux 8 or 7. So let me put it in Google here.
So my question: what's the most companies has Red X?
Red Hat.
Is it Linux 8 or Linux 7?
Linux in that Red Hat.
Okay, Red Hat 8.
Most dominating one. It's an American based. SUSE and Ubuntu is there. Some companies are using it, but most major corporation they because it's an American product, so they use that.
Oh,
Well, it's coming from the Unix here, right? Unix. It's every Linux. Okay, here's the thing, guys. You have to remember the mother is the Unix, which I
Unix,
explained
yeah.
is coming from 1969. The AT&T, they release Unix operating system and they don't know how to use it. Say, okay, we can't use it, you just give it to the public. So they gave it on the public, and people with the bright minds, they came together and developed this into Linux. Okay, this guy here, Linus Trevold, he's from, okay, this guy, pretty young.
It's from IBM.
No, he's Swedish guy, I think, yeah. Yeah, he's a Swedish. So he took the Unix code and made it Linux, okay? I explained this in our brief history about Linux also.
Yes, yes.
So he made this Linux, and then within Linux, everything else is history. In fact, you could download the source kernel and create your own operating system and give it your own name to it. Yeah. If you are kind of, once you're in the Linux doing for like 10 years or 12 years, you should be able to download and create your own operating system. Yeah, he's pretty young. He's only 50 now. So he did it when he was in 20s. So So here's the thing here. When you type the latest Linux version, which is like a generic term, so here, uh, release Linux kernel 3.0 booting, Tux Penguin. Okay, so if you look at SUSE here, okay, so this is the simple Debian CentOS 7, it says, and this is 8. I don't want Wikipedia.
So we can give the yum command to know what kind of kernel we have on the system.
Yeah. So I use most of the time I use this command here, host name CTL. Okay, so hostname CTL will give you like very good information here. It will tell you the name of the machine, and then it will tell you a computer. This is a VM. If it's a physical hardware like HP or Dell, anything like that, it will give you that information here. Okay, machine ID, boot ID. I mean, all these things managed by operating system, and it says virtualization KVM, kernel virtual machine. It's the same thing as virtual machine, and it's giving you CentOS Linux 7. Okay, and the architecture is 64-bit, and this is the latest kernel it has. I mean, not the latest kernel, the kernel which is it's using it at this moment. Okay.
Yeah, I'm using maybe the old one is X80 i86.
Yours is saying i86
Yeah, it's only say X86 architecture.
under architecture.
Yes,
How is that possible? I thought I had you all set up with
and and
i686 or i386.
and CentOS the is a i686.
I'm curious here. Give me a team viewer.
Okay. So password ID
ID and password.
404 348
404.
348
Okay.
376.
Okay.
And password is a T like David, U, umbrella, T, Tom, 568.
Yeah, see, you're using 32-bit operating system.
Okay.
Yeah, don't mess around now because you're way far in that course. So
Uh,
you should have enabled in BIOS. You should have enabled
by,
the virtualization in BIOS.
okay.
But anyway, yeah, that's a classic example. We are using the 32-bit operating system. Okay, so now I'm gonna see here, put down here. Okay, now, so what will happen is sometimes when you update the kernel, the machine doesn't boot up. Okay, it gives you the problem. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to put it back to the old version. Okay, okay, so when you upgrade something, not everything is like a picture perfect, right? It will give you a problem. Doesn't it give you a problem? It gives you a problem, right? Everything is not picture perfect. So where is the kernel sitting? The kernel sits in the boot, cd/boot, and if you do ls here, ls-l, uh, okay, so here's the two kernels which are sitting in here. Okay, there are two files. This is what is named as VM Linux 3.10. This is the old one, and this is the new one which is active. Okay, and then the file that gives you which kernel is active is in this here, in this folder, grub cd grub2 grub2. Okay, and if I do ls-l, okay, so which file is doing it is which one is it? Grub.config. Let's see if I could read this file. Okay, okay, yeah, this file is actually a script, and let me see what it's doing here. Okay, do you see this here? When the system is booting, you see this option here, right? You see this information come out here. So this is where this is loading from. This script is loading. Load video. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start another system here. If you're gonna be end up in a small place, then what will happen is you're gonna have to do all this at the big place like Apple or anything like that. It is like a separate team who's doing it. I really don't have to go this deep, but I think you should know. So if you match what's on the screen here, this is this is where it's loading the kernel from. Okay, since this is an old machine, the kernel over here is look at it here. It's loading this file VM Linux, and this is the file it loads during the boot process here. Okay, so I'm gonna escape out of this, and I really don't need to start this. But I'm gonna escape. Q. So this file all these things we'll go over this when I'm doing the system initialization. Okay, so we'll go a little bit more in there. So I'm going to get rid of the most of this stuff in here. And this is the old and the new. And then the file that holds group dot give me 1 second here, let me see what's in here. This device was generated by Anaconda. Don't mess with that. Why? Okay, yeah, don't mess with this too. So I'm gonna BIOS based bootloader sits in this bootloader means when system is booting, this is where it reads the files from and loads it to the memory, and especially this file. Okay, so let's go ahead and change the default grub. Okay, change the default grub. What should I say? Change the default kernel. Okay. Change the default kernel. So we are actually doing it right now. So let's go back. Let me clear. And anything which is like configuration and all that, where does it sits in there? We have to go into the configuration folder, which is etc. Okay, here you see here grub kernel. Not this file here actually. Update yum list available. Okay, what I was gonna show you is, let me show you. I'm gonna go ahead and fire up the old the machine which is not updated here. Okay, go ahead and bring that up here. I'm gonna show you how to update the kernel only. Okay, because sometimes you don't have to do the full update. Sometimes you have to do the kernel update only. Okay, good. So I'm going to change around a little bit here. Uh, so what is kernel? And okay, so it says putting the kernel back to the old version if it can boot or give you the problem here. Okay, now before that, updating kernel only. Okay, over here, when you did the like a blanket update, right? We did like a system-wide upgrade. So what it did was, okay, so it's wrong to call upgrade here because upgrade is system-wide update. Okay, so we did only updates. Update means you just updating what is already installed. Did you get it? Now upgrade means you're getting something better. Any questions about that?
Can you repeat it?
Update. Okay, update means you are getting a. Okay, here's the thing. You have a router, right?
Yes.
And no, here. Okay, let's.
Updates make changes, right? And upgrades are like better performance.
No, actually. Okay, you have a car, right? You already have a car. Now you want to put in that car. The car came without the AC. Okay, so back in the days, when you put in
Yeah.
like the car comes without the CD. Let's talk about the CD disc. The car used to come without CD drives back in 90s, and you have to give them extra money to update. And you're putting a spoiler on the hood back of the car. It's called update. Upgrade is getting a new car. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Update is you're just updating what you already have.
Yes. Right.
What you already have, you're just making it look better. An upgrade is like you're getting a different version of it. Okay, so I'll explain that again. So now this will system wide update.
So it's like updating phones and upgrading phones,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
When
if
you
you
update your phone, it changes the like features and everything. But when you upgrade your phone, you get like a whole new phone.
yeah, very good, very good. You took my words. You got it, man. Okay, this
Thank you.
will update kernel also. I should have done the kernel update separately before I have done the upgrades. But anyway, so now we have this here. So let's do the kernel updating kernel only. Okay, here if you do uname -r, that means what the I already did update there. Okay, I'm gonna shut this down. Bring up the one that doesn't have the updated kernel, guys. I'm sorry about all this confusion. I'm gonna fire up the second one I have here. Yeah, this one has an old version kernel. Okay. Okay, so this one is old version, right? So let me log in there. What the? This is 104 and 151. Oh, we set this as if we were working, right? One time we set that as if we don't allow the root login. I see. Remember one time when we were doing the security or the SSH, root cannot log in directly. Okay, so let me go into Zafar. Okay, I'm logged in as root now. Okay, so did you see when you go onto the job, you will get your ID, but you don't get your root password right away. So you most of the time you really don't need it. And no, actually they will provide you the root password. But when you're logging into the system directly, root cannot log in directly. Okay, you have to log in as a user. And then you could switch to root here. Why? I'll tell you. When you type last head, You see here, right before root is logged in, you could see who's logged in. Okay, and then at the almost at a similar time, root was switched to root, so you could tell this person logged in and he switched to root. Okay, that's how you track it. There are other ways you can do it, but this is one of the efficient ways. Okay, so I type uname hyphen r, uname hyphen r. Okay, so this is the old version, right? So what I'm gonna do is um, updating the kernel only. So what you got to do is check for the available kernels. Okay, so you do yum list available kernel, and then I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so it will give you the updated version of whatever the kernel is available. Okay, and it tells you it's a updates. It's a part of a updates. So I'm gonna put in here sometimes only the kernel is updated, not the entire systems. This is as business need. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is get rid of this and move this down here. Okay, so now we have a available kernel here. So we're gonna do kernel only update. So what I'm gonna do is yum update kernel. Before that it's too late now, I guess. So you type yum update kernel only -y. Before that -y, I'm gonna hit enter. So it will actually tell you that what is the update it's doing. Okay. When you do -y, all you're doing is instead of waiting here to type y, you're automatically telling the system to do y. Yes. right, it's taking longer. Okay, yeah, it's there. Okay, it says uh, installing kernel, verifying, and it does whatever it's supposed to do, and then the kernel install is complete. Okay, everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay, now if you go into cd/boot, and if you do ls-l, there is our newly downloaded kernel. It's not, at this moment, it's not there yet. I mean, it's there and sitting there, but we have to make it a default kernel. Okay, so now if you do uname-r, okay, so the old kernel is still there. So what you have to do is you have to reboot the system, okay? Uh-oh. Good. It would have been a disaster. Okay, now what you got to do is okay, so you have to reboot. Okay. Okay, so at the same time we're gonna watch this come up here, right? So I'm gonna say init 6. Okay, now you have two kernels in there. Okay, the third one is a rescue. We'll talk about that later. Okay, yeah, this is good picture here. So it will automatically set the new version as a default. Okay, so I'm gonna let it go. Oh, I can't log in as root, right? Okay, so the kernel is updated. Now, what is the difference between what we just did here and then the blanket update? We just did only the kernel update, nothing else. Everything else is in same place. Okay, so now, uh, if you do like cat etc grub2 dot config, in here somewhere this is the kernel which is set here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the awk command. We used awk command, right? Awk -f and a slash and a colon, and then what I'm going to do, another colon $sign $, and then in there I'm going to look for menu entry. Okay, and then I'm going to do print and the file I'm looking at is etc grub config. Okay, so what is the problem here is grub. Okay, so no, it didn't work. Okay, yeah, just blindly run this command and it will give you the output here. This is the same thing as what you see in there on the screen. Okay, so this is position 0. This position is 0. Okay, and this position is this position is 1. Okay, and then I'm not worried about the other one in here. So if you have more than one kernel installed, like if you're trying to update, like start from 7, by the time 7, when the 7 is released, by the time 8 comes up, they are like 10 major updates. Okay, so it's possible you could have more than one versions in there. Okay, so you could set the position in there. So now what I'm going to do is to set the position active. To set the new version active or change the um, uh, so this is active right now, right? You type uname hyphen r or change the or change or set the default um, set the default kernel. Okay, so what happens is sometimes the system is updated and you may not able to boot here. So what you could do is you put the old kernel back. Okay, to do that, what I'm going to do is grab 2 hyphen set default. I'm going to put it 1 here. Okay, and hit enter. And if I do uname hyphen r, okay, it's not going to change anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot it now. This is the only time you have to reboot. No, I'll take that back. Okay, let's reboot here. And then when you look at it, it will automatically, the second one will be highlighted here. See? You guys see that? Like, I don't have to do anything. The second one was already highlighted. That means whichever one you set it as a default, it will take that as a default. I'm not going to take the screenshot for this. And then we're going to play this again when it reboots. So you type uname hyphen r, it's back to the old kernel, okay? And then I'm gonna switch user. So I'm gonna run that command again. Grab default 0 and hit enter. So now I'm gonna restart the system. So now you see the top one is already highlighted there. Okay. So it's back, restart. Okay. All right. You guys followed me along, right? I mean, any questions here? All right, that's it. That's all we have for uh, the kernel. The only thing I want to show you is the BIOS and the UEFI. So let me see. Uh, okay, so I'm not going to talk about much here, but I'll give this information out to you. Okay, so let me quit. So default grub, right? Let me go back in there. Okay, I'm just throwing this in there. It's gonna be really hard for me to explain now, but let's just put it here. I mean, more than likely you will never have to use this, but I'm putting it in here just so you have it. For BIOS, uh, so if it's a BIOS based system, you have to run this command, okay? Grub 2.mk config slash boot slash grub 2 slash grub cfg. Okay, and for UEFI, so if it's a UEFI system, you have to run the same command. No, actually, you type grub Let me go into cd/boot ef CentOS mk grub2 dot not dot hyphen mk config, okay, slash o, and then you put this in there, okay, and then grub dot cfg. At work is going to be Red Hat. Instead of CentOS is going to be Red Hat at work. Do you guys know what a UEFI is? UEFI is the new system. Whenever you are booting up a system, it's like coming up right away, right? Not like old days, it's taking time to come up. That's what is called UEFI. What it's doing is it's kind of saving some information in the memory, and what it does, it will go ahead and do the update. It will go ahead and load the system faster. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do the system upgrade. Okay, so what this will do is we don't have the GUI version here, right? What will happen is this will install the graphical version. Okay, so yeah, it is like our hardware or updating software. So in our context here, we are just dealing with the software, updating software, upgrading software. So let's go ahead and shut this down. Okay, bring the machine which we created here. We created one which is for GUI, right? GUI system upgrade. We did that. Go ahead and bring that back up. So go ahead and log in as root Red Hat and change the system name vi host name. So what I'm gonna do is uh, I'm gonna say, instead of that, I'm gonna say GUI, because we're gonna install the graphical user also. GUI 01 prod dot, I'm gonna say GUI.zmprotech.com. Okay, all right. So what I'm gonna do now is normally you would run this. I think we already have run, right? Yum update -y. So we already have done this. So when we did the only the update last week, it came up with install package and upgraded this many packages here, including the
Mrs. Zafar, what did we change the name to? The host name to?
yeah. Change it anything else you want, but this is what I did, so that we could distinguish between what is going on. Okay.
Okay.
And then we already have done this. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna run the yum group install. We're gonna do the genome desktop. Okay. Clear everything. Yum group install. We're gonna install a big group here. It may take we're gonna leave it overnight here, so it may take few hours because it's gonna download like 2 or 3 gigabytes. Before that, I'm gonna do lsblk, and then I'm also gonna do df-h. So what we're gonna look in particular here is, look at the size here. The use size is only 1.8 gigabytes. The system is running perfect here. So, but when we're gonna do the installation of the GUI, is gonna take up a lot of disk space. So we'll study that tomorrow, but we're gonna start the update today. If you look at this, it's barely using the size 1.8 GB compared to the size of the operating system here in the Windows Arena. So the default size for Windows is 50 GB, I think. Okay, it will take between 25 to 40 gigabytes. Why is it taking that much? Because it's a Windows operating system. It's all graphics, it's all visual. You could see it with your eyes. Here, you are barely using the operating system, which is 1.8 gigabyte is being used. You're barely using it. This is the root file system, right? Yeah. So go ahead and run this command. Yum group install genome genome -desktop. Okay, that's one. X11 is the second one, and fonts is the third one. And you do -y. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's do without y, and I'm gonna hit enter, and it will give you some transaction summary. Okay.
Fonts or font? With an S or no S?
With S. So it's going to run through and then give us a good information. Okay, yeah. So this is what is going to install, okay? And go ahead and do Control C, cancel it. Okay, do Control C to cancel it. Actually do font space -y. The only reason I didn't do -y is it's possible it may ask more than one time to continue, okay? Now you could do it because each time it's going to ask you for the question you want to install this and that. You just don't have to sit there, or when you go away from the place, um, it will tell you, yeah, you could go ahead and install it.
So, Mrs. Zafar, you want us to install it or no?
Yeah, install it.
Okay.
Put -y and hit enter, and then walk away. Come back. Come back. I don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to download 2.4 GB and it's going to install and keep it ready for you.
So I did the first command without -y. Do you want me to install that one or no? Because it looked like you didn't install that one.
Where is it at? Is it asking you yes or no?
Yeah, it says this is okay
Yeah, go ahead and
for
do Control C to cancel it.
okay, and then do
Yeah, bring that line back in and
-y.
do hyphen space -y.
Okay.
Okay, look at it. It's going to install 1,101 packages, updates. Whatever it's going to do is going to do all the updates and everything, bring the system back to the latest and greatest one. Okay, so that's it for today. We're going to catch up tomorrow and then we continue on. So I'll show you how we could go into the GUI mode starting tomorrow. And leave this alone, it should take its time. Alright, if you have any questions, put it in the chat. And I will continue tomorrow.
Mrs. Zafar, GUI mode is like